Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Lunch and Learn. Joined with us is Michael Piaskowski. He is the manager of the Pennsylvania Outdoor Corps with DCNR, and that is what we are going to discuss today. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you.
I just want to remind viewers that if you have a question at any point during the presentation, feel free to leave them in the comments and we can answer them at the end of the program. So without much further ado, Michael, I will hand it over to you to give us an overview of the Pennsylvania Outdoor Corps.
Great. Well, I really appreciate being here, Sarah, and thanks PPFF for having me today. Again, my name is Michael Piaskowski. I manage the Pennsylvania Outdoor Corps program for DCNR in the Commonwealth. I have about 15 slides or so that we'll go over today to discuss different aspects of the program. And I believe there's the chat function that you can kind of chat in and ask questions if you'd like. I'm happy to take questions as we go. I'm happy to take questions at the end. I'll leave that to Sarah for the moderator, to figure that out, and we'll keep the flow going. So, all right, the Pennsylvania Outdoor Corps. Super excited about this program. I'm very fortunate to be involved in it. I have been involved in the program since 2018, and it's been a fantastic experience for me of both personal and professional growth. So just really thankful to be working in this capacity and serving in this capacity. So the Pennsylvania Outdoor Corps, as I said, it's been around since 2016, and in a slide or so, I'll give you a breakdown of the different years so far. But the program is really supported by a number of partners, and we could not run this program without our partners. It truly is a team effort. It truly does take a village to lift this program up and keep it going and keeping going in a meaningful and forward-thinking way. So here you see a list of our major partners. There are more than this, but perhaps this is all the logos I could fit on one slide. The Department of Labor and Industry is a key partner. They fund this program primarily. So our funding for this program comes through the Department of Labor and Industry primarily. The dollars that we use through the Labor and Industry are Reemployment Act funds, and they come as an augmentation from L&I over into DCNR to facilitate this program. The Pennsylvania Parks and Forest Foundation is a key partner as well. PPFF was really kind of the originator of the idea and performed early studies on how to stand up this type of program and implement it. They also continue to serve with us as a partner to gather and funnel private investments through PPFF to support the program as well. So we're very appreciative of your partnership, PPFF. Thank you. The Student Conservation Association, or SCA, as you'll see them acronymed out throughout the presentation. The Student Conservation Association has been our contracted partner in this endeavor since it began in 2016. Our initial contract with SCA, we took out for its 5-year life from 2016 to 2020. We're now into a second contract with that organization to deliver this program. That second contract started January 1st of this year. It was put out for competitive bid, and SCA won that bid, and we continue to use them to field this program. We'll talk a little bit more about responsibilities and who does what in coming slides. We're also supported by private philanthropic investments, the foundational community, even some small community friends groups around parks have supported us. So we do enjoy some private funding as well. And we also pull some project funding from DCNR's general funding. Primarily, we use environmental stewardship funding to support the purchase of materials when we're working on projects in parks and forests. So what is the Pennsylvania Outdoor Corps really, and where did it come from? The Pennsylvania Outdoor Corps is really a youth employment program. So it's similar to the PCC and the CCC of the past. In fact, we drew obviously inspiration from those programs and the YCC, not to forget them, from those programs when we were setting up the Pennsylvania Outdoor Corps. So we are engaging young people, in our case, ages 15 through 25 in the Pennsylvania Outdoor Corps in service work to our natural environment. The program grew out of the direction of Governor Wolf. In his first term when he took office, he challenged the secretaries of his departments, of his cabinet, to engage youth in the workforce. So DCNR Secretary Cindy Dunn and leadership got together and looked at the past and looked to partners to see how we could join together. And of course, married the traditional idea of our historical youth conservation corps with some funding from labor and industry to create the Pennsylvania Outdoor Corps. So we are fielding crews of young people to do service work in our parks and forests. The presentation today is filled with photos that I hope you'll find interesting, where there are photos where I know where they're taken at and what's going on there. I'll give you some insight into those as we step through. This particular photo, this is out at the Laurel Hill complex. This Corps member is rebuilding the traditional CCC Adirondack shelters. And you can see the finished product down at the bottom. But these are cool projects. Laurel Hill has been a really fantastic partner with us. Mike Mumau out there has been very engaged with the Corps since its beginning. And they have a really fantastic woodworking shop out there where they do all kinds of incredible work to support the park. And as a result, all that came together for a really neat project out there on this Adirondack shelter. So the goals of the Pennsylvania Outdoor Corps, there are three main goals of the Outdoor Corps. They kind of blend together, but they come together for the product that we call the Corps. The first is to engage underserved citizens. We know that our parks and forests aren't being used by everybody, and we really want to get the word out on conservation and how awesome these places are, and bring people to them to enjoy and to care about and steward into the future. To that, the second goal is to develop the next generation of conservation leaders in Pennsylvania. We want people to learn about our resources, the challenges that they face, the opportunities that exist, and help us to think creatively in a community, a diverse community, to help us solve problems, tackle our issues, and make our outdoor spaces, make our natural environment everything that it can be, or help steward it in such a fashion. And the third goal of this program is to diversify DCNR's workforce. So at DCNR, we are a predominantly white male workforce. We realize that the percentages are very, very high for that particular demographic, excuse me. And we're taking active steps to try to address that. We know that we can't do this work in a monoculture. We know that we need everybody on board, and that we need everybody in the coming generations to really join together to help us confront the issues that we're facing, not in just our park and forest systems, but really worldwide environmentally as a nation and as a world. So we'll talk more about those goals later, the specific actions, some of the specific actions we're taking to try to implement them. And then we'll also talk about what we look like after 5 years of program delivery around those three goals. So we've been delivering this program for 5 years now. And you can see here the crew sizes laid out over those years. I'll talk a little bit about the crew complements here, I think in a slide or so. But in general, from 2016 through 2020, you can see the different crews that we have fielded. And you can see from 2016, when we fielded 5 6-week summer youth crews, to 2017, where the program ballooned up to 14 6-week crews and 4 10-month crews, how this program really kind of took off. So the seed was set and it was watered and it sprouted a little bit in 16, and then come 17, it really came up. And it flourished into this really effective and beautiful program that we have today, that we enjoy today. From 2017, the program numbers have ebbed and flowed around the number of youth and adult crews. And you can see those laid out here. And it took us to 2020, where obviously we had the COVID-19 in 2020. We still do, but the effects of COVID in 2019 really caused us to dial back the program substantially. We had already had the adult program in the field in early 2020 when COVID really hit us hard, and the department really sees the outdoor corps as essential work that we're performing in parks to support our mission. So we chose to keep the adult program active and shifted them to a telework status, where we really dug into a lot of environmental issues, certification. People gain certifications. We had a really robust educational program done through telework through the time period where we were working from home with the Corps. And that experience, actually, from members that have been in the program for several years, the feedback we got from that experience overwhelmingly was positive. Some of our members, this is kind of an aside, but some of our members were challenged during that time to keep up with the online learning. Obviously, we have people all across the spectrum with learning abilities, access to technology. So we had a number of challenges to confront. We had a little bit of attrition during that work from home period where people just would not engage. So unfortunately, we had to let them go because they weren't being accountable to the program. But by and large, we weathered that storm really well. And as I was beginning to say before, the feedback that we got was that people really enjoyed that experience and that it made the outdoor corps program experience richer because it gave them much more context for the work that they eventually did in the field when we returned to the field. So we had seminars we had Greg Zarnecki, our climate czar, come in and talk about climate change in Pennsylvania. We had presentations, for another example, from different classifications, job classifications throughout these CNR, such as these CNR Rangers and others through that time. So the structure of different departments, how to access the state jobs portal, these types of things. So the learning at home experience was not wasted on the Corps. They really dug in and engaged in the modules, and their experience was richer for it. Anyhow, back to the slides. You can see here the purpose of this slide is really just to lay out the composition on a very high level of what the Corps looked like. So basically, we have 6 weeks. Let me skip a slide here and I'll come back to that previous one, excuse me. So let's continue on with Corps structure. We have both youth and young adult corps, or crews, I should say. The youth crews, well, I'll just stick with this slide here. All the crews have a 1 leader to 5 member ratio. So at no time is there more than 5 members to 1 leader. Leaders are over 21 years of age, and our oldest leader was in his 70s, and he was absolutely incredible. First one in the woods and the last one out of the woods. He was in the Wellsboro area, so we celebrate him for sure. We provide transportation to and from work sites. So each morning, all of our members meet at a central location in or around their host community. That central location is established once everyone is onboarded and they just kind of informally come to a place that's convenient for everyone. And then we have trucks, a fleet of trucks. We mobilize and everybody gets in the F-150 or the minivan, and they're driven to the project sites for the day. They work their day and then they come home. The program also provides hand tools. So all the tools are provided, safety equipment, and every other field support thing that you could think of, really, water, et cetera, is provided by the program. That's for all crews. Our youth crews are 15 to 18 years of age, are members, and they're typically kind of a double crew. So there's 2 leaders and 10 members on a youth crew. And that program is by and large a 6-week summer program. There was 1 year where we ran it for 7 weeks, but we've kept that at 6 weeks for some time now. During the summer, those crews are provided breakfast and lunch each day, and they're not extravagant lunches, but we try to keep them nutritious. Although it's hard to get some young people to eat fruits and vegetables. So we kind of strike a balance between the fruits and vegetables going bad from not being eaten, and getting the food that they'll eat. But the purpose of providing breakfast and lunch to that particular program population is, one, we realize that people aren't getting the proper nutrition at home. So we've been provided an opportunity to address some food insecurity. And we put some action in place to address that. But 2, there's a practical aspect to it, and it's that you need to feed people if you're going to get work out of them. And we want to make sure that people are well fed, they have energy for the day, and that they're prepared to work, and that we can get some great work out of them. So by making sure that everybody is fed, we're ensuring that the program will be as productive as possible. The experience will be as productive as possible. The strength of the youth crews is that there are many hands on a youth crew. So the work is less technical in nature. It's although they can perform basic carpentry, and all those are learning experiences. The work by and large is a little bit less skilled, but more hands on deck. So things like mechanical clearing of invasive species goes really well. The youth crews can move through acres at a time pretty quickly and get a lot out of the ground in a short amount of time. So anywhere where a lot of hands are needed to move through an area, the youth crews really excel at that. They've also had some great success building tent pads at campgrounds, assembling picnic tables, and a lot of other projects, plantings, and things like that. The young adult crew, ages 18 to 25, these crews consist of 1 leader and 5 members when they're fully staffed. And the work that they can perform is more technical. They can use gas-powered equipment. Some of them have their herbicide applicators licenses with classes. They can just do more technical work. The level of carpentry and construction can be more sophisticated. Obviously, they have a little better capacity for learning and implementing those more technical trade skills that our staff often work side by side with them to teach them and impart that knowledge to them. Because one of the goals of this program is to train the next generation. That side by side working relationship of our staff and the Corps, which you'll see here in this picture. This is out at Forbes State Forest during a tree planting event right next to the Forbes State Forest office. Local elementary school came out, and we have our service forester here working along with the outdoor Corps. I believe she's a service forester. Please forgive me if I'm incorrect about that. To show these school kids how to plant trees. And then from here, this was the example tree. And then from here, we moved out and planted a bunch of trees in that area right next to the forest office that you can see today if you go out. The Corps, this crew of 5, actually installed a walking path there as well, so you can walk through the trees in that area, which is pretty cool. The summer program, I said, is 6 weeks. The adult program, young adult program, is 10 weeks long. So we start that program in March and we run it through early December. There are some leader training on the front end of that and some wrap up on the tail end of that. But by and large, that time when the crews are deployed in the field is March through December. So here's just an example of what the project schedule looks like. This is a screen snip that I took of the project schedules. This is the Meadville adult crew from this past year. And here I just wanted you to see how the project schedules lay out. So you'll see that the adult crews typically work Monday through Friday. Or I'm sorry, excuse me, Monday through Thursday with a 10-hour day. And they go to different parks, forests, environmental education centers, and complete different projects. So here you can see the Meadville crew did some bridge construction over at Jennings. They installed they rerouted the connector trail to the campground at Pymatuning. They refurbished some docks, some cabin docks out at Moraine. This year, something new we tried this year was an all-corps gathering in the fall and also a day of service. And the all-corps gathering was on the schedule prior to COVID being a thing, at least a relevant thing in the United States. And so, but we followed through with it in the fall. And it was another time for the the adult corps to get together in the fall and share experiences virtually, see their peers and share stories and just kind of check in. We have a big training in the beginning of the year that's face-to-face that the adult corps went through, all the members. And 2 days later is when the COVID lockdown hit. So all of our members were together initially in the spring. And we found over the years that it's really important morale-wise to bring them back together somewhere at some point through the program year so that they can become re-energized by spending time with their peers, learning together. The social aspect can't be underestimated or understated. It really puts the winds back in their sail when there's a natural ebb and flow in the seasons almost. And around the fall time frame, people start to maybe get a little weary. Things are getting a little colder, perhaps. Days a little shorter. But it's time to check back in and get a shot in the arm morale-wise. And all-corps gathering we found is a great way to do that. So we did that virtually this year. Again, it was a number of seminars, team learning environments, sharing, breakout rooms, all kinds of stuff. But in addition, we did a day of service this year. And that day of service was coordinated by the crews themselves. A lot of them undertook some trash pickups. During that week, actually, one of the activities was to go out in communities, in your local communities, and pick up trash. We got some trash picked up from sites in parks and forests that were known problem areas. And then the leaders took it upon themselves to schedule, or were tasked with scheduling a day of service for their crew. So they accomplished everything from planting trees to picking up trash, and a bunch of other stuff in between. So it was a great way, this day of service, to one, engage the crews in their local communities. Because oftentimes they meet somewhere and they drive 35 minutes out to a park, which they don't traditionally perhaps associate with being part of their local community. Well, this day of service allowed them to engage directly in the heart of their communities. And a lot of them took advantage of it, and it was a really meaningful experience for many of our crew. So, typical snippet of the schedule here. You can see, I thought this particular segment of time demonstrated the swath of different types of projects that we undertake. I think if you will excuse me 1 second here, I believe I skipped a slide. I must go back, and I never did. Yes, just a little bit about the structure of the outdoor corps here. As I said, I promised to touch on. Excuse me for skipping back. So DCNR's role in administering the program. So we're talking about administering the program now. How does it actually translate from state offices down to the footprint of the park or the forest. There are many, many moving parts to it. We enjoy an incredible amount of support from our different bureaus in DCNR and beyond, our local communities. And we could not do this program without that support. It takes everybody, as I said before. But the program administration is done by DCNR. So we handle the contractual obligations, bidding the program out, bidding the program administration out, paying the bills, or I should say reimbursing the provider, the Student Conservation Association, for their expenses in administering the program or delivering the program. But at DCNR, we schedule the program, so we survey parks and forests and everybody else that we can think of. And if you know somebody, send them my way to nominate projects. And then we build those projects into the schedule that you just saw, and we program that schedule out over the year. I'm working on that now so that our different districts and complexes and regions can plan out their year and plan how they're going to be spending their dollars and time and staff allocations. We coordinate funding for the program. So we try to identify funding, or we do identify funding to support program activities. We build partnerships with other public agencies, such as county park and rec departments, municipal park departments, municipal friends groups, trail organizations. We have a cost share program called the Public Partnerships Program, where non-DCNR entities can benefit from the Corps' activities, the Corps' work, via a cost share instrument. We charge about half of the wages and administrative expenses that are realized by our partner, Student Conservation Association, and pass that on to the local entity, and then DCNR picks up the other half, and we establish contractual agreements that are pretty not a heavy lift to us to strike, and we get people out to local sites via that instrument, the Public Partnerships Program. And we actively evolve the program. We're always trying to put new things in and to better the program and evolve it to be as effective as it can possibly be. Some examples of that evolution include the day of service and the Alcor gathering that we just talked about in the previous slide. Other things include how we advocate for our members for professional placements, or deliver messaging around opportunities or initiatives that may help them advance their careers. So we're constantly scanning the horizon for things to help us better the program and better position our members for success, both within the program and after they leave us. The Student Conservation Association plays an active partner in that evolution, in that program evolution. SCA is a very dynamic organization. It's been a pleasure to work with them. They've been doing this for many years now, so they're a pretty well-oiled machine. And the leadership that SCA has in place at the Pennsylvania level, Ted Miller, Vickery Laro, Stephen Luderin, Jennifer Lehman out of their Pittsburgh office, they are very good at what they do, and they are very forward-thinking and engaged in this program. So we really appreciate having them in place and so active in the evolution of this program. The SCA staffs this thing up, and they mobilize it and they deliver it in the field. So everything from recruiting people to organizing and delivering the vehicles that we need to mobilize, to putting the tools in people's hands and teaching people how to use the tools safely, effectively, maintain them, and everything else, human resource wise, training wise, in between. That aspect is delivered by the Student Conservation Association. And again, it's pretty impressive to kind of step back and watch how it's done. It's been, again, it's been great working with them. And really, honestly, outside of DCNR and SCA, as I said several times, this program is supported by everybody that touches it. The many hands make the work light, as they say. So some of we really try to, kind of along with program evolution and kind of in the same light as that, we actively support this program. It's not a passive action where we set the schedule, and we walk away. Our staff are invested and engaged in this program, and it's staff at all levels of the organization, from laborers, maintenance foremen, park assistant managers, custodians, regional offices, all the way up to our executive offices. The entire organization is involved in this program, in many different capacities. Perhaps someone just provides a webinar on geology, but there are, I will share that well, it shouldn't be a surprise. There are people in the Corps that are super interested in geology, and they suck up that information like a sponge. So what might be a small act of perhaps just delivering a webinar has huge implications on people's lives and how they perceive state government and working for state government, and their window into that world, into our world, the state government world. So all kinds of people chip in. Here you can see support from our executive staff. This was a day that they went out and met with the Harrisburg Adult Corps. You can see Paula here, second from the right. She is now working out at Kings Gap, which is awesome. Really happy for Paula. Paula was a climate refugee from Puerto Rico, and she got hooked up with the Corps through some help from a placement service and stuck with it for a couple of years. And she finally broke into employment with DCNR. We're super proud of her. And she's putting herself through school right now at HAC to gain additional degrees to be able to qualify to become a DCNR Ranger. And next to her is Liz. I don't know if you can see my pointer. Next to her is Liz. Liz has been doing internships with the National Park Service out over in Delaware, and she remains involved as well. But anyway, active staff support. What you're seeing here is a picture of our senior staff members and our forestry staff members engaging directly with our crews. So every year, from the secretary on down, staff go out and engage with our crews. We talk to them. We try to learn more about them. What are they excited about? What are they qualified for? What are they interested in? And we help them to further those interests whenever we can. So we might do that through networking, through job shadow opportunities, and any other way we can think of. We talk to them a lot about careers. The Office of Administration now, our Environmental and Conservation Delivery Center, which is the human resources office that oversees DEP, Ag, and DCNR. Debbie Lachlan and Christy Hirsch, they do programs each year on resume development, interview skills, how to sign up for and navigate the pajobs.gov website, and those types of things. So we actively advocate for the professional development of Corps members and the people that are involved in this program. We also engage the Corps. Our Office of Communications right now is really doing an excellent job in engaging the Corps, in that we invite Corps members to write blogs for us and contribute to our social media. Right now, we're trying to work on getting a young woman from our Philadelphia crew into our communications office to write about stories of diverse experiences in the outdoors. So our communications office has been very involved. They are key in keeping the core visible on our social media platforms. Videos are being done to celebrate the 5 years of the core and kind of recap where we've been. So communications has been really on point. They help us with our website, keeping that up to date. And then, as I touched on before, advocacy and placement. We are using this program again to diversify our workforce. And there are so many moving pieces to that, and I'll hit on a slide in just a second. But without active advocacy for everyone in our program, these placement things most likely wouldn't happen. So that active advocacy for someone, even if that's just, hey, there's going to be a position coming open in 2 weeks, you should apply for it. Or listen, it's time to, I'm getting ready to send out a newsletter, one of our newsletters, the Core Connections, it's called, for alumni. It's an alumni newsletter. We try to stay in touch and keep them kind of abreast of things that are going on related to work. Sometimes it's just saying, it's time to go take your civil service exam for a semi-skilled laborer position. So here is a list. Here's where the testing. Here's a link to the testing centers, and get on there and do that now, so you can apply in a month when we expect the listings to come online. So it's little things like that that just kind of they help people along, because I know before I came to state government, the state government was kind of like a black hole. It existed, but it's very difficult to see from the outside in, and perhaps you've experienced the same thing. So we try to be that person on the inside to pull back the curtains and help people to see how things work on the inside and how they can engage and support them in their journey. Really, no matter what it is, whether it's state government, employment, private employment, whatever it might be, we try to advocate for our members in any way we can to help them. All right, so let's go back to our goals a little bit. I just have a few slides here touching on our goals, giving an overview of how we support the different actions generally, and some of the outcomes associated with those actions. And we'll step through those in the next few slides. So our first goal, engaging underserved citizens. It's really important. Some of the things, this is just going to be a general lessons learned and kind of how we handle these things. It's important to meet people where they're at. So saying that, hey, we have these awesome jobs, you get to work out in the parks every day, the pay is pretty good, which, by the way, our pay is not at $15 an hour, but all of our members, both youth and adult, make over $12 an hour now. We stepped that rate up 50 cents every July 1st, so that in a few years they'll be making $15 an hour. So the wage is pretty competitive for a summer job, 6-week summer job for somebody in high school. $12 an hour isn't too bad. Our adult cores make a little more than that. I think they're making about $13.25. And the adult crew is also eligible for healthcare through the SCA. They make a package available as an elective if an adult is interested in that. So the pay is pretty competitive, but the experience is incredible. But just saying that, hey, we have these awesome experiences out in the parks and forests. How could you, and just like naively or kind of almost pompously think in hindsight, why would you not want to capitalize on this job? Why would you not want this job? That's the wrong way to come at this, meeting people where they're at. It's not meeting people where they're at. That's actually trying to get people to meet you where you're at. So we try to meet with different organizations, and we make a concerted effort to meet with different organizations, like the Harrisburg Housing Authority, or Harrisburg specific examples, or even in York, there's an organization called CASA in the community down in York. Sitting down with them to try to understand what their priorities are and what they're trying to accomplish, and then figuring out how we can help. But trying to get a seat at their table before just kind of pulling out a seat for them at ours, which obviously we want to do, but you need to meet people where they're at, and that work takes a lot of time, and it takes a genuine interest in doing it, and it's really, I'll share with you. It's one of my favorite parts of the job. Just kind of meeting with people and learning people and really learning about myself along the way. On a personal note, it's one of my favorite parts of the job. And we try to work across all urban, suburban, and rural communities. When we talk about diversifying DCNR's workforce and pulling in a diverse workforce at the core level, obviously the first thing that comes to mind is racial and ethnic diversity, and that's part of the conversation for sure. There's no getting away from that, and it's something that we do focus on. But there are so many more layers to it. Gender, socioeconomic background, religious background, and beliefs. I mean, the diversity, the number of diverse, I don't want to say categories, but there are more and more aspects to diversity emerging all the time, and it's all part of a tapestry. And I'm proud to say that at the core, we're open to and pulling in more and more parts, radiant parts of that tapestry all the time, and it's a cool aspect of the program. So here are our participant numbers so far. And this is from 2016 through 2020. The numbers that you'll see in these slides represent that time frame. So it's really a snapshot of the first 5 years of the program. We have engaged 772 participants in the program, and you'll see the racial and demographic, racial and ethnic and gender breakdown here on the slides. I'll share with you that I'm troubled by the term non-white and white, but I didn't know how else to lay it out and be succinct on a PowerPoint slide. But the non-white populations, and I don't mean to disrespect anyone by grouping people together, but it are the categories that we survey for, SCA surveys for these categories during the application process. And I will say that the socioeconomic information they collect in the application process, the gender information, I believe, and also definitely the racial and ethnic self-identification information they collect, that is not, we can't see that until after the season is over. So it helps us in staying fair in our hiring process, and I think that's a good function. But I just got the last piece of information in our 2020 program today, so I was able to update this slide and share it with you. But you'll see that as far as ethnic and racial diversity, we're at about 27%, serving about 27% core-wide of non-white participants. And there's some room to grow there, but I think 27% it's a significant number, and we're happy that it's there, and we're certainly going to continue to grow that number as we move forward. I have seen over the years, you'll see there's undisclosed here at the end. Over the years, more and more people are choosing not to identify to these questions. And I think that's perhaps a reflection of how our culture is moving, in that, we just want to see people for people, and maybe not tie all kinds of qualifiers or quantifiers to them. And I think people just want to be seen as people more and more. So we're seeing a reflection of that in how people report that are in our program. You'll see that we've engaged, our workforce at the core has been 40% female and 59% male. And that percentage as well, we're looking to get to parity on that percentage as well. Our engagement of females in the core, 2020 was the best year for that. And we want to keep that trend going. We actually had an all-female crew in Philadelphia this year, and they crushed it. It was awesome. And again, we're pulling from urban, suburban, and rural communities. I better keep going here. Second goal, develop the next generation of conservation leaders. We do this in a number of ways here. Here you can see Deputy Secretary for Parks and Forestry, John Norbeck, along with one of our rangers. They're addressing a youth crew out in the Northwest. And, we are developing and engaging the next generation through hands-on resource management. So we are repairing structures, we are removing invasives, we are planting trees, all of those hands-on type things where, kind of where the rubber meets the road, really. We also have a pretty robust, although there's a lot of room for improvement in our environmental education program. So our youth crews get about one environmental education program a week, and our adult crews get about one a month. And that could be everything from, we pull in recreation with that as well. But it's most always tied back to where they're working at the time. So they could go kayaking, but at the same time, perhaps somebody's on a paddleboard doing sediment depth surveys, and things like that. Or they could be out for a nature walk in a forest, but at the same time, they are learning about measuring trees for yield and things like that. So we also try to expose members to technology. We have a number of different applications that they can use to inventory street trees, for instance, or gather the acreage using an iPad of where an invasive species stand are, and things like that. We also do a lot with soft skill development, showing up on time, being responsible and accountable, handshakes when it was acceptable to shake hands, eye contact, interpersonal skills, working with others. We really have a pretty strong focus on that as well. So our program has about a 93% retention rate, and that retention rate is people that either left the program in good standing because they got a job somewhere else, basically, or they went to school or joined the military, or they gained employment and they left for other gainful employment. Again, this is an employment program. All the benefits we see in parks and forestry are kind of a spin-off of that, but at its heart, this is an employment program. Members have gained 521 professional certifications over the years. That's FEMA certification, around wildland firefighting, wilderness first aid, perhaps chainsaw certifications. So there's certifications that are directly related to the conservation of natural resources. And you can see some of the other numbers here of what we've accomplished over the years. This picture here is the Turkey Path Trail. This is the Williamsport crew from this past year. The Turkey Path Trail up at the Grand Canyon was decimated by a downed tree, basically the structure they're standing on. So they had to rip out the entire old structure and they constructed this new one. This is a very steep section of trail that's really kind of not traversable without this structure. And this crew went in there, and you can see the level of carpentry and skill that went into it. Worked with the DCNR staff on it, and they hammered it out. It's a really impressive project up there if you ever get to see it. All right, so diversifying DCNR's workforce. This is a big one. As I said, we're moving in the direction. We recognize that we need to pull in all people to care about our resources. We need the expertise of all points of view to come together to help us make sure that the environment is healthy and that our people are served in the Commonwealth through these parks and forests for generations to come, forever, really. So you can see some statements here on this slide about kind of how we're addressing this, the diversification of the workforce. It starts before the core. Representation matters. Having people that look like you in photos on the website or in publications is really important. Or seeing people in professional positions that look like you is really important. We know that, and the centrifugal force around that is really spinning up and gaining momentum, and it's exciting to see. It continues with recruitment we like to look at it from the aspect of how do we serve people, not how are people going to serve us. We want to support people and help them be successful in what they want to do. It carries on through employment, through meeting with them. We talked about before, executive staff and our staff meeting with core members to discuss their ambitions and help them gain a footing or a direction or a focus in achieving those goals and their personal goals, or helping them figure that out. It transitions through job search and encouraging people to apply, removing barriers of where do I even find the website, or should my resume be 5 pages or 1 pages, and why do I need a resume? And can you help me write a resume? Will you critique my resume? Those types of things. And advocacy. When there's someone who's interested in a job in the Corps, in DCNR, I really do my best, and as staff, we do our best to advocate for that person. Not that we want people to be employed just because they're in the Corps. That's not the goal. We want the best of the best. But when there's somebody good and we can network them with the person that maybe oversees the process to get maybe some insight into that work. What does a ranger do on a daily basis? What does an actual day look like? Will I be required to relocate? We help get those questions answered, shed some light on that stuff to give some people some information so they can make the best decisions. And it endures after employment. And this is something we're working on in DCNR now through our different committee structures and our diversity, equity, and inclusion work is retention, making sure that people, once they gain employment in DCNR, they feel that they're a valued, that they're valued basically, and that their work matters, that they matter, and that they feel empowered to make decisions and really be leaders in the organization. How are we doing after 5 years of running the program? So far, we've hired 17 individuals into DCNR. That includes 1 contractor that the Bureau of Recreation and Conservation uses through the Western Pennsylvania Conservancy. The hires that have come into DCNR from the Corps have been 41% have been female, and about 23% have some aspect of diversity with them, racial and ethnic diversity, I should say. And those hires have come in at all organizational levels, from laborers in state parks to assistant park managers and park manager trainees that have now transitioned into assistant park managers, to people in our executive office. We've had mechanics and everything in between. So we're bringing people in at all levels of the organization from the Corps, which is really great. 2020 was our strongest hiring year so far. 9 members came to the Corps in 2020, which, when you think about it, is pretty amazing with all the challenges that we've been dealing with COVID, hiring freezes, and everything else. 9 people in the organization, coming into the organization last year is just fantastic. 5 of the 9 park manager trainees that were hired last year in DCNR came from or outdoor Corps, either active or alumni members. And we're really pleased with that. We want to continue that trend, and we have a goal of hiring 10 people into DCNR in 2021. And you do this, it might seem like, 9 people, 10 people, 17 people, but you do this over a number of years. And if we can keep this momentum up in 4 or 5 years, you really begin to have the ability to kind of shift the dynamics within the organization and shift the complement within the organization. And I will say that every one of these people that come to the organization from the Corps have potential to be leaders. And that's what we need. So what's on deck? In 2021, we're probably looking at, again, a reduced youth program, although we're working to run the adult program, 9 crews strong. The youth program will probably be reduced this year. In 2020, as I said, we didn't have a youth program. In 2021, we hope to have some version of a youth program, but it will be reduced. We'll probably look at holding the youth program, perhaps. We're in discussions about this now, holding it in cities where we have existing adult corps, so we can pull members from those adult crews to serve as leaders for those youth crews. There are a lot of logistical concerns to work out, but that's probably going to be a possibility in 2021. We're looking at setting up specialty and affinity crews. So in 2021, we're looking at establishing a youth crew in Pittsburgh that will consist of people that speak American Sign Language, really focused on the deaf and hard of hearing community. We're working with a group out of Baltimore called Core That to try to make that a reality. We have this year, we're establishing a crew dedicated to trail work. This will be an 18 to 25-year-old crew that will travel the state and primarily work to improve our state's trail system. And we're also trying to figure out how to stand up a cultural resource crew At DCNR, we hold a lot of cultural resources on our land, on our 2.2 million acres and 121 state parks. We hold a lot of cultural resources, and we realize the need to start cataloging those for protection, for interpretation. So we're hoping to stand up a crew to help with that. And we're continually cultivating community partners. And with that, that's my presentation. I hope there's a little bit of time for questions. I'm certainly open to any.
That was great, Michael. Thank you so much for that. I don't see any questions here now, so you did just a great job of covering it. So
great.
I will put up for more information. Folks can visit the DCNR website and get involved there. So
for sure. Yep. Perfect. Yeah, so my contact information is on the slide here. I'm always available to talk. Feel free to reach out, phone, email, whatever might be convenient. Be happy to hear from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael. Take care.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.